Hi there, today on Lydia's Books I want to talk about all the horror books coming out in August. And it is a bumper crop, I will say. Now, I did a 2-for last month, and if I would have combined them, it would have been about as many books. There are so many books coming out in August. There weren't as many in June, there weren't as many in July. And I only picked, I think, 7 books or something like that last month. This month, it was hard for me to call what I was going to talk about because there's so many good books. So yeah, if there's a book coming out from your favorite author or some gimmicky book that you think is interesting and it's not on the list, like it's probably over at typicalbooks.com/new releases or new horror. I'll put the link down below. But either way, here's 15 books. So I went a little over my typical of 13. I like 13. It's a lucky number. It's an easy amount of books to talk about. Of course, I could talk about all the books, but we'd be here for about 2 hours this time because there's so freaking many. And I like to pick books that have cool covers, like Meat Bees by Dane Erbach. Oh my God, this is such a throwback to, I don't know, books that look dangerous. When I was young and I'd go into the used bookstores, this is the sort of thing that I wanted. This is the sort of thing I looked for. Something like untoward, something with like blood on the cover, a big bold title that explained something to me. Meat Bees in great big like orangey yellow text. This is, oh my God. And that orangey yellow kind of plays off the color of the skin tone that most of the book, because it's a close-up of someone's eye with blood dripping out of it and a huge wasp growing out of the eye or crawling out of the eye and another one coming out of the corner of the eye. It's absolutely grotesque. If you hate eye horror, this is one to avoid, but if you love it, then here we go. By the time Scarlett arrives at her dad's cabin in the Smoky Mountains, 2 locals have already been eaten alive by wasps. I don't know why it's called Meat Bees. Meat Wasps maybe wasn't as fun to say. Meat Bees is very fun to say, so I don't blame them at all. And I could see someone continuously correcting someone else the difference between bees and wasps in this. Of course, she does not know that yet. All Scarlett knows is her mom finally checked herself into a hospital to take care of her mental health, leaving Scarlett alone with her dad all summer. Scarlett accepts a position at nearby Stovetop Outfitters, hoping to spend as much time away from him as possible. She doesn't expect to trip over a skeletonized corpse during one of her shifts and definitely doesn't expect to be thrown into a crime investigation. The sheriff's department is overwhelmed by these unsolved deaths, so when a coworker disappears next, Scarlett and the others set out to find him on their own. They discover something much more horrifying, a swarm of yellow jackets stripping the meat off his body. So maybe it's all winged creatures, like bees, wasps, hornets, that sort of thing, yellow jackets. Maybe that's what it is. Meat Bees. Also on August 4th, we have Small Town Slasher by Stephanie Rose, and I had to put this in here because I really love this trend of summer slashers coming after the summer slasher book by E.L. Chen that we had coming out last month, and here we are. There's a few other slashers coming out here and there over the summer months, and this is no exception. I like the very plain cover. It's like red neon over black with a black gloved killer with a big knife, and that's all it is. It's a black gloved hand, a big knife, black background, neon red text. It's very simple, very effective. I love this. So yes, Jenna is a spunky, disabled, and mostly shut-in horror fanatic who comes to rural Montana to stay at a horror-themed rental cabin. This vacation will test her limits, but her dream vacation is built on a nightmare. The bitter butcher massacred 11 people 25 years ago, ending his slaughter where Jenna's vacation cabin now sits. Her arrival coincides with the beginning of a new massacre as a body is discovered outside town. Then new killings occur, each with their own connection to the original massacre. I love these little puzzle piece procedurals when it's a slasher. I love that. Jenna starts seeing slashers around every corner and must team up with locals Eric and Jamie. Together they will struggle to survive this killing spree while unearthing secrets connecting the town's shameful history to the slasher's past and present. So I guess it was 25 years ago. Maybe it's not the same killer, but then again, maybe it is. I really hope it's not like his son or something, because that would be weird. Or maybe it's a girl. That would be fun. Again, on August 4th, we have Stay Buried, a novel by Jennifer McMahon, and I picked this mostly because I love the cover. It has a horse on the cover, as does my most recent publication. It's a red background here with a black horse on the cover. just its horse head. It's very striking. The text, though, the font is this like what overly designed serif font. It's very bold, but it is letter form, so it's not really a font by any means. But it has like sort of a stabby T and very pointy edges on things, and there's pointy little finials going through in the middle of some letters. I think it looks really, really cool. And I like the pairing that they've done, the author's name in the same font as the title. The title's very big and bold and white text on this black and red background, and then just some normal text for the little blurb or whatever that's also there. Some towns stay isolated for a reason. In 1919, Frankie O'Massey had always been the black sheep of isolated Boones Ferry, Vermont. Her uncle, Dr. Thomas Endicott, trained her in the science of medicine, something that the townspeople are wary of. When a mysterious illness strikes the town and the community suspects supernatural forces, the two desperately search for a logical explanation. Patient Zero seems to be the town's knacker man. I guess that's like a knick-knack man? A knick-knack man? Is that what you call those? Sort of like traveling dudes that had a bunch of stuff in fairy tales? A bunch of like refuse? Like a used junk salesman or a traveling yard sale? A recluse who collects dead and dying farm animals to make use of their parts. Okay, he's something very, very different. In 2016, Ashley and Malcolm lost their mother 2 years ago. When their grandmother dies, they inherit a property in Boones Ferry, a place they've heard of but their grandmother had always refused to talk about. And they embark on a trip to their ancestral home. The idyllic town is full of autumnal decor, picturesque farmland, and small town charm. But some of the townspeople aren't very welcoming, and they have some unsettling traditions. I like this. I like this very much. I do like to visit little tiny towns that are autumnal and picturesque and have small town vibes or whatever. It's really fun. There's a lot of them in Ontario, and there's a lot nearby, so we do this often. And some of them are witchier than others. Some of them wear their witchiness on their sleeves, like Merrickville, and some of them aren't and don't, and are still kind of witchy, whether they like it or not. And as I had mentioned, my book on August 4th will come out in a paperback format. It's in ebook right now. It's just a short story, but it packs a punch. It's called Only So Far in the Woods. It also has a horse on the cover, and it is also sort of a folk story. So it fits right in with a lot of what we're seeing right now in horror, especially like the book that I'm reading right now, A Scent of New Mown Hay, is a very interesting take on sort of folk horror meets sci-fi meets Cold War horror, and it's very, very cool. But yes, I digress. The Unknown by Riley Sager. It comes out August 4th. It has an interesting like tree, black tree on red in the background. It's kind of plain. The teal green font kind of clashes on the cover, if you ask me. So it's a really nondescript, kind of like blasé cover. In 1926, 5 women disappeared from a remote island in Vermont. Now, 100 years later, it's happening again. Struggling actress Marion Keene is shocked when she lands a role in a major motion picture about the unsolved mystery of New Avalon, an island on the sprawling Lake Faraday in Vermont. She's even more surprised when she discovers that the role requires a week-long research trip to that very spot. New Avalon isn't your ordinary island. A century ago, it was a commune for spiritual mediums. I would like to go to there. Until they all vanished in 1926. Okay, trip canceled. The only trace of them was 5 dresses found hanging in the branches of an old oak tree in the middle of the island. Some say they simply left, others think they were murdered. But the prevailing opinion is that a seance gone wrong conjured something supernatural that took them all one by one. Okay, I like Riley Sager. It's very bubblegum popcorn horror. It's fun. It's relaxing. You can rip through those books like nothing. Like if you like a good Nancy Drew, Riley Sager is good for that. But of course, if you want something a little bit meatier, read on. August 11th, we have Reliquary by Hannah Whitten, and I love the cover of this so much. There's a lot of black and red happening right now. I don't know if it's the overbearing heat of August that people, like, they would have designed these covers a year or 2 ago because publishing works very, very slowly. But yeah, it fits really well with August right now. If you're still having a heat wave like we are, it's almost 24 degrees in here. I don't know if you can tell. But yeah, this red and black thing. Fitting, very fitting. This is red and black. It has a semi-silhouette of a woman's head. She sort of has her head tilted back, and sort of where her hair would be, it turns into a red doorway in a stone castle wall or something. It's hard to describe, but it looks very striking. I like it quite a lot. I like the very plain serif font that has been tweaked a little bit so that like the tail from the Q sort of caresses or supports the rest of the word reliquary. I really like it quite a lot. When Claire's fiancé mysteriously dies of an unknown neurological illness, she's prepared to sink back into the lonely life that she lived before. Orphaned by a freak boating accident in her childhood, she never expected to find a connection like she did with Elias anyway. Their relationship wasn't perfect, his coldness, his secrets, his strange aversion to the ocean, but what relationship is? When Elias's family reaches out, his incredibly wealthy family from whom he was estranged, and invites Claire to a 3-day wake at Harrow Point, their family home on a private island, Claire is given the chance to find family again. That was a very extremely long run-on sentence with a lot of tripped up things. I don't think people are reading their summaries out aloud. I edit them a little bit to make them make a little more sense, or edit them for brevity. But wow, I wish I could, or felt that I could edit them all, honestly. Or at least read them aloud and edit them as I go. To belong to something, just like she's always wanted, just like Elias knew she was desperate to have. I have an inkling that The Reliquary is something like a necromancy or vampire novel. I don't know what it is in the cover or the description, or just he has an aversion to the ocean. Vampires can't cross water. I'm not really sure. But maybe I'm just reaching and hoping and wishing for more vampire stuff. There is a vampire novel in this list. But before we get to that, on August 11th, The Hill in the Dark Grove by Liam Higginson. This sounds very exciting. I love the cover. It's just a sheep bleeding in a cold morning with a bunch of ravens that are perched and watching it. It's so very innocuous, but it's the weird colors, the sense of slight panic maybe on the sheep's head, the fact that it is like a murky, kind of orangish looking day, and this yellow text. I don't know what it is. Yellow text is so insidious these days. But anyway, The Hill in the Dark Grove, Liam Higginson. Carwyn and his wife, Ryan, have lived a quiet life as sheep farmers in the remote Welsh mountains for decades, tending to ancestral land that has been in Carwyn's family for generations. But recent years have taken their toll. Local friends lost one by one to old age or rising prices, new tourists more every year, disrespecting the land, littering, camping on private property, needing to be rescued when they misjudge the elements. When Carwyn finds a strange stone head in a disused corner of the farm, he realizes the artifact is just one piece of something much larger, something unfathomably old. Despite Ryan's protests, Carwyn becomes obsessed with unearthing the structure and soon neglects daily work on the farm to keep digging. Meanwhile, the sheep fall sick more easily than any season before. Through it all, Carwyn becomes convinced that uncovering the site will be the key to solving everything. And I really like that this is similar maybe to Tommyknockers, but in a folk horror setting. I'm pretty excited to read this book. The one book I would pick if I'm standing in front of all of them on a bookshelf in a horror bookstore, and I think that might be the one. We'll find out. Because on August 18th, we have And the Sea Gave Up the Dead by William Friend. I like the cover of this quite a lot. It's got that horrible yellow text in a sans serif, which is even more insidious. But it's got a woman's face sort of looking gently with a little Mona Lisa smile almost to it. But one half of her face is skull-like in its sunken appearance, and like very skull-like. So it's very scary looking, and I like it quite a lot. Some grief echoes, some grief knocks. When Morwenna receives a troubling call from the reclusive Aunt Bethan, she reluctantly returns to the family's crumbling chateau by the French seaside. Bethan has lived there alone for years, ever since her husband vanished in circumstances the locals are still gripped by. Some whisper that she killed him. Others claim something older and far worse took him. What Morwenna finds is a house warped by grief. Rooms shift when no one is looking. Time seems to shift there too, and the deeper Morwenna digs, the more the chateau seems aware of her presence, hungry for it. Worse, it seems drawn to her children. Local folklore speaks of revenants rising from the sea, of creatures returning when the veil thins and the old hungers wake. As strange events escalate, Morwenna must uncover the truth about her uncle's fate and the beings that the villagers believe still haunt the estate before history repeats itself. Very interesting. I'm totally sold on the cover. I'm sold on the kind of travel and history of it all. There's a lot of like historical horror and folkish horror going on this month, and I am very excited by it. Or there's also a lot of schlocky slashers happening this month. August 18th, we have Lights, Camera, Friendo by Adam Caesar. And as you know, if you've seen, I do like the Clown in a Cornfield series quite a lot. I like Adam Caesar's writing to begin with. But yeah, the cover of this is Frendo's face, the mask, coming up through a spilt bucket of popcorn. So it's basically a popcorn background with the very typical Clown in a Cornfield text that we're all used to and know and love. Sabrina Alvarez is pretty much nobody until she lands the starring role in the big budget film based on the Kettle Springs massacre. Sabrina knows that she should be on top of the world. She's going to be the Quinn Maybrook, final girl of final girls, national hero and certified badass. But as soon as Sabrina gets into Kettle Springs, she can't quite shake the feeling that something is off. A spate of deaths, an out-of-control director, a town decimated by loss and divided by anger, and a movie designed to glorify it all. Something bad is brewing, and this time it's all on film. I'm excited. It's kind of meta. Sure, it's super meta. The last one was kind of meta too. I mean, every single one ever since Quinn survived has been very meta in respect to Quinn Maybrook, but I like this because we're kind of following the Scream franchise a little bit, I suppose, but like, I'm not a Scream fan, I am a Friendo fan, so I'm very excited for this. And now for something completely different, and completely different as far as covers go. You know, I like a woodcut style kind of cover. I like a duotone thing where black is one of those colors. I like purple too. So a black and purple cover really excites me. It's very, very plain. It's got a very, very bold black sans serif font that says Marla. It is from Weirded Tales publications, which is kind of interesting to me. I hope they do more like this. Or maybe they have been and I've missed it entirely. Marla by Jonathan Jans, August 18th. It's a woman's face that is peering out of a forest, perhaps. It's all like a purple background. All the trees are black. The only other color is white for the text and her eyes. So when I said duotone, I guess I meant 3 colors. I was even more excited by the summary because this really excites me. In Kings Branch, Indiana, everyone knows the Gorman house. Everyone whispers about the girl in the upstairs window. Detective Carl Lancaster is driving the same back road he's driven 1,000 times when he glances up and meets the stare, and it freezes him to the bone. Minutes later, a body turns up. Coincidence, he tells himself? And then it happens again. Annie, a child protection social worker with a crumbling home life, is used to walking into other people's nightmares, but a tense visit with a volatile family ties her fate to the Gorman house and to a secret that she's spent her entire life suppressing. Dylan, 21 and drifting, comes home for the summer and finds himself drawn to the beautiful, enigmatic Marla Gorman. Curiosity becomes obsession, and fascination becomes fear. As strange deaths ripple through the county and rumors sharpen into patterns, Carl, Annie, and Dylan are pulled toward the same locked door, a creaking Victorian filled with moonlit hallways, a shadowed toy room, and a presence that smiles without kindness. In a town that wears its love of horror like a badge, suspicion is contagious, memory is dangerous, and some windows look back. Okay, very exciting. I love a town that's full of creaky old Victorians and secrets, right? Like, I am very excited to check this out sometime. I hadn't read anything by Jonathan Jans before. If you have, definitely let me know if there's a better starting point, or, I might just dive in on this one. Now, August 18th has a lot of books, and here's another one. It's the vampire book that I alluded to earlier. I love this cover. Like, I don't know what this is, like a hummingbird or something on the cover that looks somewhat mummified on a cross. It is so gloriously disturbing with that weird, murky, gross, mustardy ochre color of rot. I just liken that color to like rotten fungi. It's perfect. A very stark white sans serif font for tapeworm. What a greasy, gross name for a book, right? Tapeworm, a vampire novel by A.P. Thayer. After the recent separation from his wife, Trish, Victor hopes his friend's annual weekend retreat to the Californian desert town of Superstition will loosen him up and reforge the group's fraying bonds. But something is waiting underneath the town, crawling its way into their group and feeding into their desires. Victor has always attempted to be the perfect partner, yet often found himself lacking. With Trish skipping the trip, he begins falling into the wild underbelly of superstition in new ways. When the leader of the town approaches him with a romantically, sexually charged offer, Victor wonders if it's too good to be true. But the welcoming committee expects a price to be paid for its services, one that cannot be fulfilled by willing bodies alone. By the end of the weekend, the group bonding will have developed a whole new meaning. And this reminds me somewhat of the premise of the movie Society. If you've seen Society, where people are like bonding and he wants to be active in society or what have you, maybe that's what's going on, but it does say it's a vampire story right off the top. So I'm very interested to see where this goes, especially because it's small town, rural vampires. It's not something that gets done enough. I mean, we often see vampires, a large group of vampires that are hiding nearby a town or something like that and feasting on it, but a small town that is probably vampires. Maybe just the important people, the mayor, the leader, the welcoming committee. I'm pretty intrigued. And what? More? On August 18th, you say? Of course, 2 more books on August 18th that I picked. There are like over a dozen. There's a lot of books coming out this month, and a lot are happening on August 18th. We have The Calamities by Chuck Wendig, and I like this cover. It's just sort of like this nondescript person that is wearing like a suit and maybe a leather jacket or a suit jacket, it's hard to tell, sitting on a very ornate leather couch with their arms outspread, and there's like an oil painting behind them, and they're in an oak paneled drawing room of some sort, very from money, and it says Calamities in a very thin sans serif font on white, and it's sort of obscuring their face. So yeah, I had a feeling that this might be a vampire book, but who knows? We'll have to read it and find out. Chuck Wendig is coming here to Ottawa in October and speaking at CanCon, so that's super exciting. I'm not able to go because I'm going to DreadCon, but if anything changed, that's where I would be going, is to CanCon. Morning Maine knows that one day he'll bear the duty of managing his family's vast empire of wealth and power. But the feckless Morning has always struggled to accept his legacy of cruelty, domination, and exploitation, and something even darker. See why I think it's a vampire thing? Because like it's a darker legacy, and his name is Morning. What a name. Morning, like M-O-U-R, too. Because the Maines are no ordinary family. Hidden in our world are the fiends, half human, half demon, and possessed of a dark magic born by buying human souls. And the Maines are one of the oldest and most influential of fiendish families. But when Morning's estranged father, a formidable and terrifying Hadrian Maine, demands that Morning return to the fold, he has to decide whether to accept his legacy and embrace his role in the family, or to forge his own destiny, and with it change the course of the world. That was really fun to read. I love when a masterful writer like Chuck Wendig, or a lot of the writers on this list, can really craft or have someone craft for them a perfect summary that just rolls off the tongue and just reads so well and is so picturesque and really draws the painting of the world that you're about to enter in your mind. I really love that. And maybe a hard act to follow. Here we go. The last book on August 18th. My gosh, so many books. And there's more to come here, right? There's more to the month than that. The Devil's Pocketbook by Ross Jeffrey. And I remember seeing a different cover or a different premise for this book. I swear I did. Or maybe it's a different book called The Devil's Pocketbook. But the cover is really plain. It's black and red and white. There's a lot of black and red and white sans serif fonts with big white bold text. That seems to be a trend this month. And it's just a hand reaching up out of water. That is all that's happening. And it's done in a very graphic woodcut kind of style. During the sleepy off-season in the picturesque village of Polperro, Cornwall, Eric and Laura find themselves at the mercy of their grief. What was to be a time of healing from the loss of their daughter soon turns into a living nightmare when they find a pod floating in the water containing a precious gift from the sea, and they foolishly decide to take it home. But what they've invited into their lives is something unnatural, something that mimics reality as they had hoped it would be. As reality gradually slips away from the couple, they soon realize that they are contending with forces more powerful than the undertows of the ocean and just as inescapable. Their grief, like the sea, will drown them if they let it. Okay, not very descriptive. They find a devil's pocketbook, which I believe is a sea creature. But what I do know is that we finally got to another day, August 25th, with The Burn Line, a novel by Jonathan Sims. And the cover is quite interesting. Black and red and white, it's a thing. But we also have like a green subway train that's coming out of a skull mouth, if you can believe it. You have to see it. And the skull's melting. I mean, it sounds like there's a lot going on. And I guess there kind of is, but it's designed so well that it looks very simplistic. It has the very neat black kind of faded text on a red background and this great big white waxy melting looking skull with a subway train coming out of its mouth. You'd have to see it to believe it, but whatever. It's sort of self-descriptive here. Beneath the streets of London, it hungers. It's the hottest summer on record and the city is suffering. Prices are high, pay is low, and on one fateful morning, 5 travelers find themselves trapped in a tube car deep in the London underground. It will change their lives forever. By the time that they leave the train, they will be bound together as witnesses to one single horrific event. Something terrible, irreversible, and monstrous. Something hungry, but they can't remember what it was. On their own, they begin to experience strange dissociative events. Time gets lost, friends disappear, something stalks them in the shadows. And they make an unlikely team, but to remember what they encountered that one day on the train, they'll have to work together. Because now it's up to them to understand the horror that they saw and to stop it in its tracks before it drags everyone else down below. Very interesting. I don't spend a lot of time on the train. We have a train here. It hardly works, the train in Ottawa. If you've ever seen the news about the LRT or light rail transit in Ottawa, it's a humongous joke. It's a sad, depressing joke. So I don't really take it. And we don't have subways. We don't have underground trains. Like, it goes through a little tunnel or a bridge here and there, but it's like not a tunnel, not a subway. It does go into underground stations, but it's nothing like the London Underground or even Toronto subway. So yeah, something kind of scary to me. So I'm very interested in The Burn Line. I'm also very interested in something completely different, and this kind of goes into a folk horror as well. I mostly love the cover of this book though. The Sunken the Adored, a novel by Danya Coles, and it is like a watercolor pastel on black with white text. That's where the similarities ends. It's sort of like this pinkish purple watercolor of all these gorgeous flowers surrounding a woman who may or may not be alive. I can't tell if her eyes are open, but it's just gorgeous. Like, the whole cover is very, very Victorian, very light. You can smell the roses and potpourri wafting off this. I just totally love this cover. Venice, Italy, 1800s. The only survivor on a ship, Mercy disembarks in Italy carrying 2 precious possessions: the first ever camera that makes daguerreotype plates, and a letter regarding an appointment meant for a dead slaveholder. The letter takes her to Umberto, an anatomist. In his basement workspace, she learns that he hired the man who has formerly owned her to capture images of dissected corpses. But that man is dead. With no other recourse for her or Umberto, Mercy assumes the position. In return for the sample plate she took, Umberto takes her to the home of Contessa, a British woman who married into her title. Charmed by Mercy, she invites the young woman to stay for the season to take pictures. Formerly enslaved, Mercy finds this new life of freedom heady and takes on the mantle of photographer and guest in the decadent house of pleasure under the hospitality of an aristocrat. Under the Contessa's roof, she meets a diverse cast of friendly and strange individuals with whom she forms new bonds and friendships. But all is not well in her new life. Something dark and hungry stalks the canals that snake through the city, biting at her heels. The same death that rode the waves with her now surrounds her in this strange place. What is this malevolence that haunts her? As she tries to understand this macabre force, she must grapple with a greater fear. The horror that endangers her friends is herself. twisty-turny already. And I just love the idea of going back to the time when a young woman, a woman of color, could be wielding a very powerful tool. It's going to get a little steampunky, even though it's based in real history. Daguerreotypes were the new future at the time. And wow, having her wield that mysterious, almost magical box of wonders that can replicate people and take pictures of the dead, beautiful stuff. So very excited to hear more about this book. And on August 25th, we have The Unheld, a novel by Luke Larkin. And the cover is interesting because it's a sideways picture of a moose who has just dropped his antlers. I have a huge moose antler sitting outside that the squirrels keep chewing on that my sister had gifted me. So you do find them just kind of out in the forest. They do just kind of fall off, or they work them off by rubbing them against trees because it's annoying when they're shedding, I'm sure. It's a black background with this big moose, but it's sideways. So it sort of throws you off kilter once you see it, because you wonder what the moose is doing, but it is just a sideways picture of the moose with very dark red serif font, all in caps. So I don't know, it's just an interesting looking cover with those moosey browns. I like it quite a lot. Charlie's life is a lonely one. While other 12-year-olds are in school, she spends her days skinning the animals her mercurial father hunts in the woods just outside their cabin. And the woods, with its twisted creatures, an owl with 4 wings, a boar with 2 heads, and a fox with gills, are becoming stranger by the day. One night, a nightmarish beast appears and drags Charlie's father off into the wilderness. To find him, she enlists the aid of 2 unlikely allies, also in search of the beast: an Englishman with a connection to a mysterious occult society, and a Northern Cheyenne policeman exiled for a crime he didn't commit. Yet, as the trio prepare for the confrontation with the beast, Charlie must decide if her father, a brusque man who has always withheld his affection, is ultimately worth saving. Interesting stuff. And like I said, I would pick like one of these books. If I was standing in front of a shelf with all of these, it wouldn't take me a long time to choose them all, but I'm still going to go back, even though I'm very tempted by Marla, and I'm, of course, Clown in the Cornfield I am going to buy, so I don't even want to count that. The Sea Gave Up Its Dead is exciting, but The Hill in a Dark Grove by Liam Higginson is really the number one pick. I think that's going to be the one that I pick up to read in the fall. Although Meat Bees and Small Town Slasher are very exciting to me too, it's really so hard to pick. But I'm not buying books from here till October, except used books that I pick up at like the library book sale or something for very inexpensive, just to keep like it down to a dull roar. And the collection sort of needs to shrink a little bit here. So yeah, I don't know if I'm going to have an unhaul or what, but it's so hard with so many cool books coming out. I mean, Meat Bees, come on, I have to buy that. One thing I don't need to do is go to Google Books to buy books. And I don't know if anyone here does buy books off Google Books. If you've bought my books off Google Books, thank you. I didn't see a dime off of that if it happened, because it was my old publisher that had my book there. I don't know who would get the money if you attempted to buy one of my books there now. And I think a lot of authors are in the same boat. Sometimes their books appear in places and it's like, wow, not really clear how that got there. There is also another explanation: piracy. And this is going to be my little TED Talk for a moment, my little PSA. If you have bought a horror book off Google Books in the past little while, especially a very popular book by a popular author in an ebook form for maybe $5 or $6, take another look at it and see if it does have the right author name attached to it. There was a huge list that was discovered by Joe Young over at Get Writing Horror, which is a Facebook group, but nevertheless, he had this amazing huge list of 56, I think, titles of books that looked very similar to books that existed. I don't know what tipped someone off that 1 or 2 of these books had been stolen by this fake author. But yeah, if you've read a book that reminded you quite a bit of a book that you've read before, definitely let somebody know. If you see something, say something. Tell someone you trust that you think the book you're reading is pirated. They pirated a lot of very popular authors like Judith Sonnet, like Heather Graham, like Duncan Ralston, and it's just sad to see. There's like a lot of books that are on this list. So yeah, be very, very careful. What I will do is put a link to the Facebook post about these books so that you can maybe double check. They might have disappeared from your Google book listing because Google was notified by the authors probably with a takedown notice. And after one or two, it seemed that they deleted this whole fake authors offerings. It's probably happening under other fake authors' names though, and it's so sad to see. If you notice an author that seems to have like all of a sudden a whole lot of books, they have all AI covers and they all look very similar, do a little bit of research and find out and see, because if they have stolen books from authors in one way or another, everyone needs to know. The publishers need to know, the authors need to issue a takedown notice. I don't know if there's much you can do by issuing a whole bunch of 0 or 1 star reviews. You definitely need to contact the author. But it was a very exciting day for me when I launched my book as an ebook, and it was also a very harrowing day because there were a couple very strange AI-based piracy allegations from other people swirling around. So it was just a weird time to be an author right now, especially for the authors on this list. Oh my. So yeah, I will add a link to this so that you can see it out of interest sake. So yes, if you're interested in any of these books, I'd maybe avoid some of the less reputable places. Go to a bookstore, go to Goodreads and see what they have in the list. Go to Amazon or go to bookshop.org and find out where you can buy it, or try and find the author's website and see what they suggest. So yes, that is 15 books coming out in August, 16 if you count Only So Far in the Woods, which hits paperback on August 4th, alongside a whole bunch of really great books like Meat Bees. My God, that book looks so cool. Anyhow, have you read any of these already? If you have, let us know what they're like in the comments, or if there's something that you think I have to read off of this that isn't just Meat Bees or the Sheep book, let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and have an spooky day.